It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmic Voice. Cosmic Voice, music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello everyone and welcome to the Cosmic Voice. This is Season 5, Episode 19. I am here with the one and only and my co-host, Chris Natalini.
Hello, what's going on?
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone, to another show. Chris, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, sir. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. This is one of our most recent evening recordings that we've done in a while. Usually we're early morning bugs these days.
We've been doing them very early, yeah. But it seems to work, right? Because the early, it's the first thing we do, and we're awake and we're spry and we're ready to go.
Right, it's dark now, so we'll see what happens in this episode. But this is how we first started. This is how we first started.
It was. As our lives became busier, we started to be able to do it on the early morning weekend hours.
Well, I think as
I spend my time with you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think as we progress through the show, we've gotten a little bit more comfortable. We kind of know how things kind of play out. Maybe we had to take the whole day and then some to think about it, but so we can get charged up pretty quick, So, yeah, I guess. You get into a routine, a shtick, so to speak, and then,
shtick.
And then you...
Shtick.
My shtick is much taller than I am, so sometimes it is tough getting through the door or down the steps without hitting the ceiling, that kind of thing. I actually have that problem with my guitars sometimes when I put them on my back and I go down a flight of steps and my guitar hits the thing. It's like, how do these guys do it? I don't understand, but I haven't learned it, so... Hey, what's going on with you? Anything exciting?
No, man. As we record this, we are well into spring. Not necessarily spring weather, but calendar-wise, we are into spring. I'm excited. Days are a little longer. I know that excites you as well.
Yes. Well, when this airs, we'll be in the thick of spring, so it is pretty exciting that it is staying lighter longer. I've always enjoyed that. Even as a kid, I always felt like there was more day to play.
100%.
Right? Because for some reason in my head, and as a memory, when I was a kid, like by 4:30 it was dark. It has changed over the years because they keep kind of like altering the time of when it really is dark. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I do remember like 4:30 it was like boom. And in my neighborhood, you better have been in by the time it was dark because you didn't want to be left out in the cold, so to speak. Right? So, you knew when them street lights were going on, you were sprinting home. Dun, 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 dun. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
I didn't live in the big top neighborhoods like you. On the other side of town.
I was more suburban, I guess.
I was on the tracks. The other side of the tracks? Well, then there was tracks.
You were just by a track.
Yeah, I was literally, houses were next to the tracks, so that's, you had to get home quick.
We spent many good times in that garage of yours.
We did, man. A lot of years. A lot of people talk about that stuff, and not that I've completely forgotten, but you've just kind of like I've moved on from it. But I run into people or whatever, and they're talking about, we used to hang out and do the music and all, and I learned a lot of bands from you guys, and it's like, oh, okay. And then sometimes you're surprised at the impact that you have on people, and you never really knew it because no one ever talked that way. We never talked that way to each other.
It's the truth because, looking back, too, like what you guys were doing, you guys were, no matter whether you were playing, on Friday nights or Saturday nights in the garage at the Michaels household or, you guys were playing at different places. Like you guys, even as young as we were, like you guys were a full-fledged rock band. Well, not a metal band, but like you guys were like full-fledged rocking out. Like you guys, so like, in our circle of friends, you were really the only you were the only guys that were legit in a band. You know what I mean? So for like, you guys hanging out, it was cool because you guys were doing something that all of us wanted to do. We just didn't have those people around us. Those people that we had around us were you guys, but you guys were already rocking out at a very early age, and it was a cool place to hang. You guys had lights and couches and stuff, big stage.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where we. Like thinking back, I'm not even sure where we got most of that stuff. Yeah, we used to just pack them in. I just could, like sometimes you look around, and you go, "Who is that?" I don't, people were just like showing up. It was kind of cool, And again, it's a testimony of the time too, and how the music. We talked about this before on a show, like the Growing Up Metal show. It's like people just kind of commune together because of the music. And oftentimes you were meeting people because of the music. And at that age, 100%. At our, 15, 16, 17, 18, it really was a whole different world, a whole new world for us, And
yeah.
I guess before life really came in and kind of bit you, I guess, it was some exciting times in those regards of discovery. And the music played such a key role. It's weird to say that as an adult with children, because I just was speaking to somebody last night, and they go, a lot of these young kids today, they want to go find themselves. He goes, what would your parents say, go find yourself? I said, my old man would have said, go find yourself a job. That's how you'll find yourself. And he goes, yeah, exactly. And he started laughing, It's like they would have whacked you in the back of the head. Go find you. What's the matter? There you are. You're right here. Now get to work. That kind of stuff. Mom, I just need to find myself. I don't know who I am. You don't know who you are. I know who you are because I named you. Now take the trash out. Dinner's going to be on the table real soon. That was it. That was about the support. You know what I mean? And then you reflect and go, yeah, I got to get this. I got to get my act together. I better go get that job.
It's just weird, man. Like I can't imagine like at that time, on the outside looking in, like your family waking up, like all of us sleeping in your living room. Like,
oh, I know, it was crazy. Two floors. I mean, people were everywhere.
Everywhere.
We started collecting mattresses and extra couches just so people could sleep, which is crazy.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
so funny.
It was crazy, man. It was. Sometimes you just go to bed and it's like, I don't know who's still there, who wasn't there. It was kind of weird, but especially if you look back at it now, like again, being a parent, I'd be like, "What are you, crazy?" I mean, just like
you know, we were different kids, though, man. Like we weren't rowdy, but like we didn't party at your place. I mean, like we partied in our own way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like listening to music and hanging out. Like we weren't those kind of those kind of teenagers like a lot of teenagers are now. It wasn't unruly.
No,
we were just loud and having a good time.
If looking back, that a lot of the parents were probably, and my mom as well, was like, well, I know where they're at. Better here than someplace that we don't know, or, at least it's somewhat of a controlled environment. So, again, I guess there's a testament to that as well, is because here it is, 40 years later, you and me, we're still hanging out, talking.
Still doing it.
James and I, you know what I'm saying?
So you guys have been together forever.
Yeah, so it's something, it's pretty cool. And there, at some point, there was a couple generations that kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Different aspects. So it was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. Well, it's also a testament to the kind of guys you are too, because your wife was with us back in the day too.
Yeah,
and you guys have been together ever since. So it's a huge testament to the kind of people you guys are.
Yeah.
You and James collectively.
Unfortunately, there's a couple people that kind of disappeared. There were a couple people, from my understanding, that kind of disappeared and then passed on because they got involved in some things. I guess that happens in any circle. But there's a lot of people that I just don't see anymore, because lifestyles and choices in life. You do hear about them every so often. Somebody says something,
Absolutely.
Hey, do you remember so-and-so? And
Yeah, I was going to say, but if you set those people down, if we were all in a room together, I'm sure we'd all have the same memory, or at least, a generic memory of the same thing.
Right, something collective. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's people spaced out all over the place. The kind of cool thing about Facebook is a lot of these people, like, they'll like something or they'll a quick comment or something, but we don't really talk that much, but there's still that connection that goes back
course.
a lot of years.
Of
So
course.
it's kind of cool.
Yep.
So again,
It
that's
is
just the
cool.
power of the music, I think. I just think a lot of it has to relate to the music.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. For sure. You know, they always say music is, you know, it keeps everybody together or whatever. It's the
It's universal language. Yeah.
universal language. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And you know, you and I are, and the people we have surrounded ourselves with in our history, it speaks volumes because it's the truth. It really is. We all stuck together because of music.
Yeah,
Really.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
for some of us, for many of us, the music actually kept us on the straight and narrow.
Same. Yep.
Right?
Oh,
kind
yeah.
Of,
Yeah,
especially
for
if we
sure.
were really trying to hone our crafts, it was something that resonated with us. I felt that the music kept me on the straight and narrow. So,
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. Yep.
creative outlet, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
It's Russ the Boss.
This is Stephen Pearson from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmic Voice.
All right. So, with that, let's get to the topic of the show. It is the dream and reality. The dream and reality, kind of like we just segued into it from our opening conversation.
Kinda.
And again, like if you want to go back in time, there was a lot of the dream that fueled us young artists. And I think
Yeah.
that, and again, young, now we were young in age, but we were young as artists. We were new to the field. But there's young artists that are today that may be up in age, but they're young artists because they're just starting out, because they found their passion, they found their direction. And a lot of that gets fueled with this, we make assumptions or we believe some of the romanticism of that music world. Now, again, for us, we were part of that MTV generation,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
that played a huge role and probably a havoc role in forming that idea, that dream of what we thought, you know, rock stardom, being in this business was all about. So what do you think, buddy? The dream and the reality.
You know, I know it's going to sound super corny, but everybody should have a dream, right? I mean, no matter what it may be. You want to go to the moon, then that's fine. You want to be a rock star, like, you know, that's the dream we had, then that's fine too. I mean, you need to have a passion. You need to have a dream, I think, and that's the kind of things that keep your life moving. That's number one. I think that, you know, you and I, speaking about our history together, I think you and I are kind of lucky in that way, because even though we had these dreams of rock stardom and not realizing that, you know, a small percentage of people actually make it to rock stardom, because all we were witness to were people that did make it. Again, and, you know, we didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have guys writing books to, you know, to tell us the backstories of everything and the, you know, the backstage hardships and stuff like that. So for us, we would see, you know, our favorite bands on MTV and go, I want to do that. Like, I can't wait. That's exactly what I want to do. And we were lucky because you and I, at a very young age, were surrounded by people that were doing it. So we were able to see the do's and don'ts, the things that do happen on, you know, on an indie band level, you know, the driving, the money, the label stuff, the, you know, the hardships, the ins and outs. And we were able to see the backstage stuff. So our reality compared to the dream, what we wanted, we understood that reality to make that dream, because we had the pleasure of having people around us that we were able to learn from on a one-on-one level. Because if we didn't have that, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I would have, I'm sure at some point in my career, I would have gone, ugh, I can't believe I never knew this. And listen, I've been doing this a long time. There are definitely things that, and this music has changed, the business has changed. There are still things that I go, man, I can't believe I didn't know that. Or, you know, I can't believe this is still going on, whatever the case may be. You know, a dream is a cool thing to have. You just have to realize that not everything that you see, especially nowadays with social media, and you hear it all the time, especially in this day and age. You always hear about these horrible facts about these young girls that see things on all the social medias and how they're taking it. You know, just because you see what it looks like on social media does not mean that it's exactly how it appears to be. It just looks awesome. And, you know, you and I have said it many times on this show that it's just, things aren't always what they appear to be. And sometimes those dreams that you think you have, you're not ready for the reality. And then when it slaps you in the face, man, you're either just going to walk away from it and be done, or you're just going to keep following that dream. And And going back to our season 1, episode 1, depends on what your dream is, right? What do you consider to be successful? How far do you want to go? And if it is a dream and a passion, you just have to kind of ebb and flow with the times that reality smacks you in the face. Be ready for the fight, because it's an all uphill battle. And realize, again, that not everybody makes it to MTV. It'd be nice. I guess with YouTube now, you have a better chance of getting it. The rock stardom isn't what it used to be back when you and I were growing up watching MTV on Saturday nights during Headbangers Ball. It's not like that anymore. So, in reality really is hard enough as it is on a day-to-day basis. But if you have that dream, man, you just got to fight through that reality, because it will smack you in the face if you're not prepared for it. Do your research, do read up on things like Mick does, and listen to our podcast, and you'll learn a lot to kind of help you through your reality to get to your dream.
Yeah, it may give you too much reality. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I think the dreams are a fantastic thing for people to have. And there are a lot of times I used to get within my own family kind of made fun of, like, oh, you're a pipe dreamer. You got all these big ideas, but you got this big empty hole and stuff's just kind of falling through. But I never lost that pipe dream type of mentality. No. I definitely think that you got to have some kind of dream in any sense. Like, if you're not dreaming, there's no passion to what you're doing. Yeah. Whether your dream is you wanted to be a superhero, or there was some great profession that you wanted to be, or, whatever. I mean, I think everybody has it. And unfortunately, as we get older, depending on the people that we're associating with or not with, that can be trampled on. And oftentimes a lot of people will get into relationships and their significant other doesn't support what that other person wants to do.
Yeah.
And people just kind of go, okay, and they let it go. They give up on it, and we comply, and we get complacent, and we just do whatever we have to do to survive. And sometimes that's what the life feeds us, and we have no choice. However, by keeping a dream, I think we're creating the feeling of hope, and hope is that belief that things are going to be better. It will be better. It's different than wishing. Right? Wishing is just you sitting there, boy, I really wish this would happen. But if you're not making any effort, hope is like, hey, listen, I'm going to give this an opportunity. And at least there's something backing it. But I think you definitely got to have a dream. And going back to what you said, that we were kind of fortunate enough, especially at our age, at that time, in that era, in the location we were at, we knew a lot of people that were making it. And that's what we considered making it back then. We actually watched their career from that behind-the-scenes type of observer that we knew, we associated with these people, and they moved up and up and up and up. There's a number of people that we could make mention to, but again, that's not what the show's really about. But you could probably figure out throughout the 80s into heavy metal and rock, and where we were out inside the Philadelphia area, well, that just kind of gives it away. I mean, I remember seeing these bands or individuals just in the local scene, playing at the local venues, and then they just started to, take off. Kind of, like you said, was an example to us that what was possible, what we were working towards or striving towards, what that dream could be if we put the time in. Because, again, it wasn't happening for someone that was just sitting in their house watching TV. These guys were out playing. They were writing songs. They dressed the part, they looked the part, the whole thing. They were kind of like living it. So there was some examples. Now listen, they all weren't fantastic examples. Some kind of burned out real fast. Others maybe didn't have the best, I don't know, choices in life. But then there were some that really did continue on. But we got to see that. We got to experience that. And that helped fuel our dream. Good, bad, or indifferent, right? Unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah.
It gives you that hope that you keep going, which goes back to it's the power of your resources. Now, when I say it in this context, I don't mean that, because I know these people, they're going to make me make it, or they're going to give me the opportunity to make it. It doesn't actually really happen like that. The reality of that is after a certain point, it's every man for themselves. There's no guarantee, and nobody's going to give you a handout because they had to work for it themselves.
Yep.
So they're not just going to turn around and go, by the way, here's the thing. It doesn't really work like that. A lot of us learned that, hey, just because so-and-so made it doesn't mean the rest of us are making it.
That's right.
Right? So
That's
there's
right.
some of that reality. But going back to, this is like the power of your resources. If you can surround yourself with people who are also striving to the same and or similar dream, you've increased your chances, right? Because now you're in the mix.
Yep.
And you're seeing how it's done. Whether it's a success or not, there's a whole different flow of energy. This is why successful people tend to work with other successful people.
Yes.
I mean, Tony Robbins is a pure example, right? There's the motivation factor. And he motivates people, people motivate him. They want to work together. There's this synergy, whatever they call it. Maybe if I knew what it was and how to pronounce it, maybe it would work better for me. That's probably part of my problem, right? The power of your resources. So because Chris and I had that opportunity to see individuals, I'm going to use just the term, make it at that point, like literally go from point A, point B, point C, point D, and beyond. It created this reality to the dream. In turn, we also seen some of those people hit to the skids, and we realized how quickly that dream becomes a hard reality and how hard it is to kind of get back up in the saddle again and find some possible light through that dark. We learned that too. There was a lot of that because some of those guys that went off into Neverland wound up coming back and they had a hard road ahead of them. You know, some did well and some never really got it back together again. Again, if you're still holding on to a positivity of your dream, it's going to get you through that. Go, okay, well, that's not me. What can I learn from that? You always got to ask yourself that, right? Don't you think? Like, what can I learn from this situation? Whether I experienced it or I'm learning it second or third hand from some other experience. There's something to be learned from everything if we allow ourselves. We can't just dismiss and go, well, that's not me. I'm going to make it. Right? Well, okay, it doesn't even make sense.
You are listening to The Cosmic Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
I think there's also that philosophical thing where they say, depending on what you believe in, where they say the universe, or even a religion, whatever you believe in, will keep giving you the same thing until you change your ways about it. In other words, the universe is going to keep putting something in your way and keep irritating you until you finally realize, I got to get over this flaw in myself to move on from it, right? Like, I mean, that's one of those things where you just keep hitting the same wall until you have to step back and look at it differently, conquer it, and then go, okay, now I can move on.
Right. To get something new, you got to make room for it. And to make room for it, you got to get rid of something old.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You know, because I repeated the same procedure for years. In the beginning, it worked real well. Over time, it started to not work so well, to a point where it wasn't working at all. And I was banging my head because I wasn't changing. I've told part of this story over and over again. I was like, I don't understand. It worked before. You know, well, this time it's going to work. This time. To a point where I had to take a step back, to the point where I wasn't doing it anymore. I said, this is just, I can't. It was mentally taxing on me. I was like, this doesn't work. So I took some time off. And I realized during that time, because I made changes elsewhere, I'm like, well, I have to apply this to every aspect. And I learned what I didn't want. And that is so important. Listen, you can have a dream, but that doesn't mean you have to accept whatever somebody gives you as that dream. It's your dream, right? You often see that in a TV show or sitcom or something. The guy says something, he goes, well, this is your dream. You know what I mean? Like, do whatever you want, that kind of thing. So it's if you know what you don't want, that's fantastic. Unfortunately, a lot of us, a lot of people go, I don't know what I want. Oh, okay. Because there's so many choices. But on the same token, a lot of us don't even know what we don't want. Because we're so used to taking crap.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're always being offered. So we get used to it. The crap becomes the norm. And it's like, it's always been that way. It's always been that way. Well, if it's my dream, I should be able to do this the way I want. And when I got back into this, that's what I said. I must have said it to everybody that I was talking to about getting back into the whole music scene. Even when I was going through a list of possible members, I said, listen, I'm going to do this a certain way. I'm not going to repeat what I did years ago.
Right.
And I know that turned some people off because they were like, what are you talking about? You're going to do it your way. Who are you? There was a lot of that, like, who are you? Well, listen, if you're going to buy a house and live in that house, sooner or later you're going to make that house your own. You're going to change the color of the walls, the drapes, maybe redo the kitchen and the bathroom, finish the basement, do some siding, new roof. All of a sudden, 10 years later, that house doesn't look the same. It's the same house, but it doesn't look the same. The energy's different, the whole thing. Why not my dream? Why not what it is I want to do? Because I'll enjoy it better. And I do. And so every year I feel like I'm learning more and more. I'm growing more. I have so much to cover still. I'm just worried I'm not going to have enough time. Retirement's right around the corner. Everybody else is doing it.
Also, too, you could even relate that to now in 2023. What we used to do in 2019 does not work in 2023. It just changed. Everything changes.
Right. That dream we had in 2020, by March, that dream became such a hard reality. We were living it for 2 years saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
If you know what you don't want, you'll be able to craft your dream better. And your dream then becomes the reality. We can say reality is that bite in the ass that happens, and that's almost putting a negative twist on it. Or you could say the reality is this is how my dream's going to be. There's a percentage of people that are living their dream. Their dream is their reality. Right? Reality is the dream, whatever.
Yeah.
And they make it happen. So we're all privy to that. We just have to make those decisions. Like you said, go back to our first episode about what is success to you. And unfortunately, success in modern times is measured by how much money you got. Well, that may be true to some, but not to everybody. Because there's plenty of wealthy people that aren't happy, that don't have a significant other, whose children hate them. Who they're losing money here. People don't like them. They're not nice people. Maybe they don't have the best of health. I've met some people that survived cancer, and to them, they feel that they're the wealthiest person in the world because they have a second shot. They overcame something that was about to just wipe them out and take them away from their family, and now every day is just like, they laugh, and I get it.
Yeah.
For me, in this music business, or whatever you want to call it, the fact that I'm doing it on my 12th year with this band, and we went through recession of 2012 and COVID of 2020 and, whatever, and we're still doing it, that there's still an audience that's interested. It's just amazing to me. Amazing to me. I literally have to once in a while go, because I get uptight and I go, oh my God, we haven't done this, we're not doing this. And I've said this before. And, you go, man, we haven't really accomplished anything. And there's that old dream creeping up on me because of what we seen as kids, right? And one, like you said earlier, doesn't exist anymore. Not even remotely. And two, it's not for everybody. Not everybody's going to get that same thing that way. So knowing what you don't want leads to knowing what you want. And then you make it work for whatever it is that you want to do. And to me, I feel it's been very successful that I'm able to still do this. It's just so cool. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't won a Grammy. I don't even know if I have the shelf space for them because I got too many old CDs that I bought years ago that I won't throw away. So I have no space for it.
It's true, man. I look back and I think, my God, we've said this before, probably even on the first episode. This isn't what I had originally planned to do, but what I've gotten to do is pretty flippin' awesome. Like, honestly, I look back and go, I don't know if I would have wanted it any other way. Listen, would I like to be playing Metallica sold out stadiums? 100%. Absolutely. I've gotten to do some really cool things, and I've played in front of a few thousand people, and in that few thousand people, I've made some really killer connections. And even for just that fleeting moment, in the middle of a song, if I just gave someone a high five and made their day for that moment in time, being a fan of the band, that's awesome to me. I can't really say anything negative about what I've gotten to do, what I've gotten to experience, the moments that I've had in those experiences. Again, would I love to be playing thousands of, in a stadium? Sure. But would I have made those connections? I don't know. It's easy to say, oh yeah, I played for the guy in the rafters in the last seat. Well, sure. I'm sure you do. I don't deny that. But if I could see the guy in the last seat, and if I could point to him or her and wave or hand them the mic to sing, well, that's pretty awesome than being in a 100,000 person stadium. I'm pretty happy with that.
It's just cool, you know. We've gotten to travel and stuff like that, and you know, we've had our music on the regular radio and satellite and internet radio and stuff like that. I mean, like, I never would have thought that I would do a podcast. Never even ever conceived it. 10 years ago, 20 years, 20 years ago, I don't know. But even like 3 years ago, yeah, because it's been about that. But like even 5 years ago, I knew a podcast, but I just didn't think,
Yeah, exactly.
So when you start knowing what you don't want, all this other stuff starts coming your way. And then you get to choose. And so the dream modifies, and it could be whatever. Like, the dream was to be in the music business, I guess. And there's different aspects of it, and here it is. And again, I think that to understand your dream, you have to kind of define it. You can't just say, I want to be a rock star. Well, that's one thing. It's, and I said this before. I've said the story that the band I was in the 80s, we didn't really have a plan per se. I mean, we were writing songs, we were playing out, we were performing, we were kind of doing whatever. I mean, it was like 5-6 nights a week. This is what we were doing. If we weren't rehearsing as a full band, whoever was left on the other 2 nights, we got together and we would write songs and, that kind of thing. There was a belief that, hey, we're just going to make it. But we didn't have a plan per se. Just do what we thought was the right thing. Without that defining, like you said, when it comes, you're not really too sure what to do with it. So I think if you define that dream, know what you don't want, allow what you do want to come in, and be open to opportunity, you can create the reality that you want. Now, that's not to say that you get so clouded in the dream that you lose sight of what really reality is.
Right.
Because it is sometimes that bite in the butt. There are not a lot of nice people in this business. It is cutthroat. There is tons of jealousy. Ego just drives everything. Vendettas drive things. High school clique type things exist. People talking about you behind your back, and you have to deal with that. It's there. Doesn't mean that you have to be involved in it or you have to do it. You do have to deal with it on some level, because it's not like you avoid it and kind of shut it out. It's just that you don't get involved in it, so it doesn't bother you, and you never have to look over your shoulder. However, because it's so rampant, every so often, it's going to pop up. Even with the best intentions, you're going to just run into somebody. It's there. But if you know what you don't want, you won't have to engage too much with it.
Yeah.
And that, again, is knowing what your dream is. And like Chris pointed out, once you know what that dream is, and you kind of have it defined, you can define success any way you want. And I really think that is a dream in itself, being able to define your success. And if success at any level gives you some level of freedom, oh man, you are seriously a rich individual.
100%.
I think that's the way to go. I've met a lot of people, and I'm not just talking in the music business, in some other walks of life, that they've gotten so clouded by that dream, that, I'm going to use a word here, that fantasy. That dream turns into this fantasy thing, and they lose sight of what they're really supposed to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Thankfully, I've never had that personal experience. I mean, I like fantasy. Why not, right? I kind of knew the difference, and I never got so lost in it, because if you wake up from it, you're like, oh, now what? I never really accomplished anything. I never really made root, right? I never put some roots down. And as being a singer, songwriter, guitar player, being in a band, right? You start putting down roots by writing material, releasing that material, having some albums, building your catalog, videos if you need to, making those connections, playing shows, doing tours, maybe endorsements, whatever. Now you're starting to put roots down. But if you're just going around frosting your hair, buying crazy guitars and long trench coats and big boots, if that's putting down roots for you, you're not going to get very far. You're living the fantasy. You're not working towards the dream.
Yeah.
And you got a skewed reality. That's my opinion. Because I've seen that in guys in this business.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
Man, I just think that, kind of just like what you said, like, always have a dream, always keep fighting for that dream, and sometimes your dreams may change. You may want to be a rock star, but maybe you being a rock star isn't going to be in the cards, but you'll find that out as you go along. But what you end up doing may be something you didn't expect and ends up being cooler than just being a rock star.
Absolutely. And again, like Chris said, things may change. That's okay, because change is inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Whether we accept it or not, that's a whole other thing. It could stunt our growth, or it could continue to push us forward, and we ride that wave.
Yeah. Yep.
But to have that type of flexibility, I'm going to go back to what I said before. Know what you don't want. Know exactly what you don't want. And only the things that you want will come through.
Yep.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, man. Nope. That's it.
All right, if you like that episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmicvoice.com. Step into the Cosmic Verse and fill that void. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmic Voice. Be sure to check us out at thecosmicvoice.com. Like and follow us on Facebook at The Cosmic Voice. You can find The Cosmic Voice everywhere you listen to online podcasts, like Deezer, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many more.
Okay, folks, that will do it for another episode of The Cosmic Voice. Mick and I would like to say thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
You're listening to The Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.